We continue our work at Ukraine Crisis Media Center, and I give the floor to Mr. Alexander Hug, Principal Deputy Chief Monitor of the OSCE Special Monitoring Mission to Ukraine, with weekly updates from the OSCE Special Monitoring Mission. Mr. Hug, the floor is yours.
Good afternoon, dear friends. When a conflict drags on, as this one has for more than 3 years, it is all too easy to relegate it to the sidelines and to the back pages. There is a tendency to become immune to stories of violence and suffering. Eventually, many people don't even want to know about it, or just refuse to believe it, and some people even deny it. But facts are undeniable. Last week, our monitors established a number of facts. They observed 7,272 ceasefire violations last week, a 15% decrease on the number recorded the previous week. This brings the total number of ceasefire violations recorded by the OSCE SMM since the beginning of the year up to 293,819. Of the ceasefire violations recorded last week, 438 were caused by weapons proscribed under the Minsk agreements, 3 instances of fires from multiple launch rocket systems, 56 rounds from other artillery systems, 5 from tanks, and 374 from mortars. 95% of these explosions were recorded in the Popasna-Pervomaisk area. In addition to observing the use of these weapons, we have also observed the actual weapons 16 times in areas controlled by the government and 15 times in areas not controlled by the government. Since the beginning of the year, we have actually observed weapons in violation of the withdrawal lines 2,922 times, almost 2/3 of them in areas not controlled by the government. These observations fly directly in the face of the side's insistence that they have been observing the withdrawal clauses of the Minsk agreements. They clearly are not. In many instances, these weapons are positioned in and around residential areas, which inevitably results in civilians getting killed or injured. From 1st of January to 13th of August this year, the OSCE SMM has confirmed 350 civilian casualties, 65 killed, 285 injured. Reflecting the almost complete failure of the sites to demine, many civilian casualties are related to mines and unexploded ordnance. From 1st of January to 13th of August this year, we have recorded 93 such cases involving 28 deaths and 65 injuries. Dear friends, the sides have negotiated and signed the Minsk Protocol, the Minsk Memorandum, the package of measures for the implementation of the Minsk Memorandum, the addendum to the package of measures, the decision of the Trilateral Contact Group on Mine Action, and the framework decision of the Trilateral Contact Group relating to the disengagement of forces and hardware. Everything has been agreed. The sides have agreed to cease fire, to withdraw weapons, to disengage forces and hardware, and to demine. And yet, in reality, they have done little. In reality, the sides have only partly implemented the agreements they have signed. The underlying reason for the failure of the sides is obviously a lack of will. But there are also immediate concrete reasons for this failure. Implementation is complicated. It requires facilitation, coordination, monitoring, and verification. The Joint Center for Control and Coordination was tasked by the signatories of the Minsk agreements to facilitate and coordinate, and the OSCE Special Monitoring Mission to Ukraine was assigned the role in monitoring and verifying compliance within the framework of its mandate. The work of the OSCE SMM And our contribution towards stabilization and normalization is dependent on the sites allowing us to do our work. Specifically, it is dependent on the sites allowing our monitors unhindered and safe access to all areas of Ukraine. This has not been the case. Both sides restrict our freedom of movement. In addition, technical equipment used for monitoring, especially at night time, namely a thermal camera at the Donetsk filtration station, was destroyed by a small arms fire. Other technical equipment also used for monitoring, namely unmanned aerial vehicles, was shot at on a number of times in Vasilivka, Yasinovata, and Pikuzi. Restrictions on our monitoring sometimes involves violence or the threat of violence against our unarmed civilian monitors. On Sunday, for instance, an armed member of the so-called LPR, standing just a few meters away, pointed an assault rifle at 4 unarmed civilian monitors at the SMM patrol at the Stanitsa Luhanska bridge. He threatened to shoot them if they didn't leave the area. Regarding the Joint Center for Control and Coordination, its role in assisting and ensuring the complete ceasefire has not always worked. Its role in coordinating between the sides to ensure the withdrawal of heavy weapons and mine action is not always complete. Its role in ensuring the unhindered and safe access for the SMM has not always been effective. Events in eastern Ukraine last week proved, however, that the Joint Center for Control and Coordination can work effectively. We saw, for instance, how JCCC officers facilitated, on 2 occasions, the clearance of landmines and unexploded ordnance from the Debaltsevo-Svetlodarsk road, allowing the SMM to travel freely between the 2 towns in accordance with its mandate. We also saw how instrumental the JCCC was in coordinating a localized adherence to the ceasefire in and around Novo-Alexandrivka, allowing fire engines to reach and put out fires that were endangering civilians still living there. We also saw how they ensured remedial actions taken following the direct threat to our monitors at the Stanitsa Luhanska bridge. The day after the incident, they informed the SMM that the individual who had pointed an assault rifle and threatened to shoot unarmed civilian monitors and other SMM staff was dismissed and had disciplinary actions taken against him. Dear friends, the facts are clear and undisputable. The OSCE SMM has established them through its monitoring. The ceasefire is only partially holding. Withdrawal of heavy weapons is not complete. The disengagement process is stalled. Demining is incomplete. It is also a fact that the OSCE SMM continues to be restricted by the sides, and it is a fact that the JCCC is yet to fulfill its potential. But it is also a fact, as demonstrated last week, that the JCCC can work if it consistently does so, if it consistently assists in ensuring complete ceasefire all along the contact line, if it coordinates mine action, if it ensures on a consistent basis, free and safe access for the OSCE SMM, and if it provides rapid response to cases of impediments to monitoring and verification by the OSCE SMM, then it is possible to create new facts on the ground. A properly functioning JCCC, functioning effectively all across the conflict zone on a constant basis, can create new facts. Ceasefire, normalization, stabilization, and ultimately long-term peace in eastern Ukraine once existed. They can exist again. Then and only then we should relegate this conflict to the sidelines or to the back pages. In the meantime, the OSCE will continue to implement its mandate and monitor and verify the sides' compliance with their commitments. We refuse to accept the restrictions. We refuse to be intimidated. We will, in fact, enhance our monitoring. Tomorrow, for instance, the OSCE SMM will deploy monitors on a permanent 24/7 basis at its forward patrol base in Stanica Luhanska. We already have a camera there since October 2016 and plan to install others. Nothing, however, compares to our monitors. They are the eyes and ears of the international community in Donbass and throughout Ukraine. They will ensure comprehensive monitoring and reporting, especially of events during the night, which of course is when many of the ceasefire violations do occur. The presence of monitors in Stanica Luhanska on a 24/7 basis will allow closer contact with the civilian population living near and crossing the contact line. Stanica Luhanska is the only exit-entry checkpoint in the entire Luhansk region. The bridge, over which thousands of people must cross every day, is in fact destroyed. People must therefore climb up and down rickety, decaying wooden ramps. So long as the sites refuse to open additional entry-exit checkpoints in the Luhansk region, and so long as the bridge in Stanica Luhanska remains unrepaired, the human tragedy that unfolds every day in Stanica Luhanska will continue. Reaching these people, telling their stories and experiences, this is what our monitors will do. Despite the sites agreeing to disengage forces and hardware in the Stanica Luhanska area, they have not. In fact, the only movement of forces and hardware we have observed in this area has been forward. The area also remains infested with mines and unexploded ordnance. The deployment of our monitors on a permanent 24/7 basis is the OSCE's contribution to normalization at Stanica Luhanska. It is now time, in fact, it is long overdue, that the sides make their contribution too. They need to agree to cease fire, to demine and to disengage, all of which they have agreed to. Stanica Luhanska bridge can be repaired. Instead of dividing the people, the bridge can connect them. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hook. Now it's time for questions. Dear colleagues, if you have questions, please introduce yourself and ask.
Igor Filipenko, Nation News Agency. Could you please comment on the following? The OSCE will not take part at the highest level, is not taking part in the Minsk process at the highest level, and the mission depart from performing what's written in the mandate, fostering peace and fostering stability and stabilization. Probably this complicates the work of the monitoring mission, and the mission should probably get back to the highest level of engagement in the Minsk process, and it will make your life easier. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm not sure I heard a question there. I assume this was a comment you made.
The question is as follows. Do you think that if the OSCE takes part in the Minsk process, it will simplify the activities of the mission? The resolution of the conflict at the political level will create prerequisites for the peaceful settlement of the conflict overall.
Thank you. The OSCE has different actors. One of them is the special representative of the chairman in office, Ambassador Saidik, who is part of the trilateral contact group. In fact, he is there every time that group meets and is therefore an integrative part of that trilateral contact group, which has, as you have heard in my statement before, made decisions that should lead to normalization and stabilization on the ground. In addition to that, the OSCE Special Monitoring Mission provides its facts to all participating states and the public, to which also those involved in the Minsk process have access. In addition to that, as you have seen in the media, on a very regular basis, the mission briefs the heads of states and government of the Normandy 4 on a regular basis.
Thank you. The next question will come in Ukrainian as well.
Crimean News Agency. The Federation of Football of Ukraine informed that they have addressed the OSCE with a request to guarantee security during the football match in Mariupol on 26th of August, and you have reportedly accepted this invitation. And could you please comment how the Federation of Football of Ukraine justified your presence during the football match?
Thank you for the question. A part of the OSCE SMM's mandate is to gather information and report on the security situation in Ukraine to reduce tension and promoting stabilization and normalization through dialogue facilitation throughout Ukraine. The mission regularly reports large public events and monitors it countrywide, not just in the east, such as protests, religious gatherings, sport events and parades. This event in Mariupol is no different. Our monitors will be present and observe and report on the facts. The information we gather, as usual, will be available on our website in our reports. It is to be very clear, the OSCE Special Monitoring Mission is not to provide any security guarantees. We monitor and establish facts and draw no conclusions. The observations available, once again, will be made available in our daily reports from which those who need to draw conclusions can draw them. Thank you.
The next question, please.
Michael Kraus, Austrian PO. First of all, let me express some words of gratitude. Your guys and your teams are really doing a great job. We had the opportunity to follow them and to see them in action. Really, we must say that we are happy to have you here. In Eastern Ukraine, we are following up. We have business there, and we see that it's really helpful to see you facilitating help and mediating there. One question just, what can the organization do to facilitate and to support the erection of the destroyed bridge in Stanica Luhansk? How can we offer some help, and how can we support also the missions member in their daily work? Thank you.
Thank you. I'm afraid help is needed elsewhere. Help is needed by the sides who have failed thus far to implement what they have agreed to. And as I've mentioned in my statement before, what they would need to do is to withdraw their positions, to disengage from that area and to withdraw their weapons. They have not done so. In fact, the only move we have seen in that area were forward moves. As long as this is not reversed and as long as they not implement what they are doing, the situation will not change. The SMM will and is mandated to monitor whether they do so or not, but it's up to the sides to withdraw their positions to allow the bridge to be repaired. International money is available, international support is available, international expertise is available, stands in fact ready as we speak. All what is needed is the will by the sides to do what they have promised to do. It's a matter of implementing an agreement. Once that happens, that bridge can be repaired in a matter of a day.
Thank you. It looks like we have no more questions at present. Thank you, Mr. Hook, and we will end here.
Thank you.
Ще можемо записати тут синхрон?